What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of So You Want to Lead a Party? I'm Nate.
I'm Ragan.
Thanks for checking out another adventure. We're super happy to have you along, and please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and find us on Patreon as well. Ragan, who are we looking at this week?
We are looking at Jacob Zuma, the former president of South Africa, also known as the RSA, Republic of South Africa. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was the third democratically elected president. First, it was Nelson Mandela, who we've done a build around. The second, I am ashamed to say, I cannot remember. I think it was Mbeki.
Thabo Mbeki. Yeah.
Yes. And then third was Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma is a very complicated figure, not as complicated as Winnie Mandela. Yet, Winnie Mandela, for me, I can understand her progression of what she started doing later in her years with ending apartheid and such. Jacob Zuma, on the other hand, just saying this from a personal perspective, it seemed very greedy. He has been repeatedly accused of misappropriating funds for South Africa. In fact, it was said that he wound up costing South Africa somewhere like around $1 billion US or 1 trillion South African rand. I don't know how true that is. But I do know that I was living in South Africa at the time towards the end of his presidency. And this was like 2012 to 2014, and his popularity was very, very much waning. He also engaged in some xenophobia that was taking place. And it's one of those tactics that we've seen here in the US. There are people at the top get in trouble and they're like, ooh, come up with something really quick. We're going to blame this group for something completely unrelated. Actually, Family Guy did an episode on that where Mayor Adam West got in trouble for something. So he created a whole nother situation to get attention off of him. And that's kind of what Jacob Zuma's administration did. They blamed immigrants from other African countries. And I'm going to say this because this is my pet peeve. Africa is a continent of 50 plus different distinct countries. Going to say that again. A continent of 50 plus distinct countries, just like North America is a continent of 20 plus distinct countries. So there you go. I know that we only think of the top three, Canada, US, and Mexico, but there are 20 plus countries in North America. But anyway, getting off my soapbox, he started blaming immigrants from other African countries. And at the time I was living in South Africa, was a friend of a woman who married a South African man and had a child in South Africa. So she became a South African citizen, but she had immigrated from Zimbabwe. And people in the village blamed her for so many things. And it's like, she did not do anything wrong. And in fact, my friends and I talked to other immigrants coming to South Africa, and they're like, we get blamed for everything. So it's very similar to what we've seen here in our own country, where we blame immigrants for something that they really did not do. These are people taking on jobs that you really don't want, but they're being blamed for why your life is difficult. And if it were true that they were responsible for your life being difficult, then stopping immigration would then improve your life. But that's not going to improve your life. It just is not. So Jacob Zuma was also multiple marriages. We call it polygamy. It's actually legal in South Africa. The family that I lived with, they were polygamous or multiple marriages. The husband had 3 wives, and I lived on the property of one of those wives. Jacob Zuma had a total of 5, and I think now he's up to 6. So he's had quite a few wives. One committed suicide, one he divorced. And so I think he has 3 to 4 right now. I know I held up 2 fingers, 3 to 4 right now. But getting back to his politics, it seemed counterintuitive to what would help South Africa. One of the biggest things that he was misblamed for is that I guess he had unprotected sex. And in South Africa, there are 11 official languages. So English is the common language throughout the country, but there are 11 official languages. And I guess he was being asked, so what did you do after you had relations with this woman? He misinterpreted the question to go, well, I took a shower. It was then spread throughout international news that he claimed that you can cure AIDS or HIV by taking a shower. That is not what he was saying. He was just saying something matter of fact. But yeah, I have a love for the country of South Africa, but yeah, some of the policies that came up under Zuma seemed very counterintuitive for a lasting economy, a lasting democratic society. So yeah, that's
complicated individual.
He very much is a complicated individual. And I guess you could say part of that is where for so long, especially he lived through a large portion of his life under apartheid, and to then come into power had to be disconcerting on some level. It's like if for 40 years of your life you lived in absolute poverty and you were told where to go, when to go, and how to do it, and all of a sudden now you're in charge, it's got to create some really complex. I mean, human beings are already complex, but that had to be like even more complex. And that, you know, if I won $1 million tomorrow, yeah, my life would change, but not that much. So you're going from poverty to now just, yeah. So one of the things that he was accused of was using government funds to improve one of his homes. And yes, he is the president, he is supposed to do, but he went way too far in that. So yeah, as you said, complex individual. All right, so what did you create for your Jacob Zuma?
So for my Jacob Zuma, I was inspired by his works in intelligence. For decades, he worked in intelligence for, I believe, first for the African National Congress.
Yeah.
And I decided, okay, wow, Mastermind Rogue doesn't quite work there. Considering he worked in specifically in stealth, I decided to make him go well, I decided to go with an arcane trickster
Oh,
rogue.
okay.
Raised feral tiefling. He's got +2 to Dex, +1 to Int, fire resistance, dark vision, and some innate spellcasting. He is a level 20 arcane trickster rogue in my build. For background, I decided to give him the faction agent background, giving him proficiency in 2 languages. I believe I chose, again, yes, it made sense, right? Oh, like you said, 11 official languages. Also proficiency in the insight and arcana skills. Basically, he's a magic using spy and infiltrator, which I think is kind of a cool archetype to play with. He can do some great, the rogue archetype arcane trickster can allow you to do some great stuff with the mage hand cantrip, including stealing stuff. You can sneak attack with it. You can, if you're able to successfully perform a stealth check or a sleight of hand check against another creature's perception check. Roleplay wise, I would roleplay him as a neutral aligned character, so very much down the middle in terms of comfort level for the party. Not speaking first, always listening, always ready to catch anything that could work to his or the party's advantage, usually his first and then the party's. Using magic to scout around, comfortable with a little petty crime if it ultimately benefited the party and the realm, of course. Ability scores, I was able to, with ability score increases and some pretty good rolls, max out his dexterity and his spellcasting spellcasting skill, intelligence. So they are both at 20, followed closely by Constitution at 18, Wisdom at 13 for perception and some saves, Charisma 10, and Strength of 8. Again, these skills are not to cast aspersions on the person of Jacob Zuma. This is what would work for this particular build. For initiative, he gets a +5. Thank you, dexterity at 20. For AC, he is in studded leather armor with an AC of 17, 12 plus dex mod, counting on magic and the mobility of the rogue in order to avoid hits or mitigate damage. Spells, I imagine him having a little friend. I gave him Find Familiar, which he could use to not only help in scouting around, but also to gain advantage for sneak attack, which is pretty much the rogue's bread and butter during combat. Speaking of mobility, Haste, that spell allows essentially an extra action per turn. So casting that at the risk of accruing a level of exhaustion, which can be debilitating. So use it wisely. Haste, good spell. Greater invisibility is essentially the combat invisibility option. Very, very good on a rogue. Major Image, great for stealth and deception and casting a giant illusion. And Misty Step, being able to teleport as a bonus action just in case he can't evade or uncanny dodge a particular attack. So Jacob Zuma felt very roguish to me in that regard. I was, again, inspired by his work in intelligence. I decided to essentially make him a magic spy, which is just two great words that sound great together. That is Jacob Zuma for me.
Cool. Well, we did it again. We did it again. I
Go
made
on.
my guy a tiefling bard level 12.
Cool.
Because I made him level 12 because I was looking at his time. He actually was a part of Mbeki's cabinet and then president himself. So that totaled up to about 12 years. Made him College of Whispers because he actually did kind of engage in that whole telling stories about his opponents because, oh gosh, why can I not remember names tonight? The gentleman who was in charge of the youth portion of the ANC, his name is like right on the tip of my tongue, but anyway, he and Zuma started basically having political differences and they just basically went toe to toe with each other. So it was a lot of, well, you did this, well, you did this, well, you did this. With this, because he is tiefling, that charisma, intelligence, that's what I'm going to start hitting. Looks like I forgot to add in expertise here. Hold on. His expertise is going to be sleight of hand and deception. How did I miss that? And I also miss adding in some extra spells. That is on me. Do not know how I did that. His ability scores for this one. I cannot remember if I rolled this character or if I did a point by. I think I might have rolled them. I will have to go back and review the tape, but it's a 6 for strength because as a bard, you're not really going to rely on your strength.
14... That sounds like a roll.
Huh?
That sounds like a roll.
Yeah. Okay. So then I definitely did roll it. 14 for dexterity. Wow. 11 for constitution, 20 for intelligence, 13 for wisdom, and 20 for charisma. And you're right. I do remember this one. It was about 2 weeks ago. There's a lot that's happened in about 2 weeks. Because I rolled it, I had to hit charisma and intelligence like seriously hard on that one. So again, like you said before, it's not about the person, it's the character in D&D that we place them in. He's got a +4 initiative and a 14 for armor class. And that's because as a tiefling bard, he really can only wear light armor because he does have to be a little bit sneaky. Because of how he came out, I would play this bard more like a rogue. More roguish, but I made him a bard because I was just like, he has to be charismatic. 5 wives and counting, he has to be charismatic. His languages are common and infernal. And the spells that I was able to remember to give to him. For his cantrips, Thunderclap and Vicious Mockery, of course, those are like some of my favorites. I also added in friends. You have the advantage on all charisma checks. So I thought that would be good. Because in South Africa, they have 11 official languages, I gave him comprehend languages. I too gave him a friend called Unseen Servant. I gave him enthrall and also compulsion, along with mislead. and mass suggestion. So I kind of went the same way with you of, yeah, he's going to be your tricky guy, but he's also your guy that if you need someone to get people to, he's going to come into town, he's going to listen to all the gossip, and then he's going to manipulate it, kind of like that TV show Bull that I've been watching a lot of. I watched all 5 seasons in like a week.
Nice. Well done.
And still went to my job. So there you go. He's going to pay attention to the gossip. He's going to know who are the people to friend and who are the people to keep an eye on. So kind of with that intelligence, magic spy thing, I went with the charismatic spy route with him. Cool. So yeah, definitely would play him like a rogue. So he's not the person I'm going to send in first into a fight, but he is the person I'm going to send in to scout ahead. He's going to be the person that I'm going to send ahead of the party to check out the town and see if they're friendly to you, and if they're not, try to get them to your side, and if they are, keep them friendly to your party. So yeah, that's my Jacob Zuma.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I've realized I forgot to talk about expertise as well.
Oh.
Rogues get an insane amount of skills. So I gave him expertise in perception, stealth, persuasion, and insight.
Yep.
Consequently, his passive perception is 23. Nothing's getting by him unless it's really, 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 really stealthy. And then common, infernal, elvish, and draconic as well.
Yeah. Yep. My guy got a +13 on intimidation and a +13 on deception. So yeah, I tried to explain that to my mom, where I was creating a character for someone else, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy has a +17 modifier. She's like, a what? I understand that you were saying words, but I don't know what that meant. And I was like, okay, so in D&D, she's like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
My mother asked both my brother and myself, both of whom are enthusiasts of Dungeons and Dragons, and she just kept asking questions, but the conversation went on for quite a while. There's a lot.
If you're going to ask questions, I'm going to answer it as best as I can. I remember at work once, a coworker yelled out something like "nat 20," and another coworker was like, "Wait, what?" And I said, in D&D, if you roll a nat 20, basically that means whatever you're trying to do, you did it well and you succeeded. And he was like, oh, okay. And that was the end of the conversation.
Cool. There is an appropriate level of detail.
Yes.
If you yourself keep asking questions, that's on you. Love you, Mom.
Right. I love my mother too, and I'm trying to get her to like kind of understand just the basics of it, because that's all I can explain right now is the basics. But as I keep doing this, I am starting to get a little bit better, just a little bit. Yeah, so I was highly impressed with this one character, but we'll talk about that later.
Cool.
Yeah. So, all right. It looks like we, again, read each other's minds, which is insane. We're like, okay, what gets me about this is that we think alike about these political figures, but when it comes to some of the things that we do in our campaigns, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Are you like, what are you doing?
One of my favorite One of my favorite things, I believe it was you who said this, was y'all need a black person in your DnD group.
Okay, so to give the audience context for this, okay, what happened is that the party came across a attic entrance that had been sealed shut from the outside, and the party, all the members of the party, and not everybody in the party is white. We do have someone who is Asian. They were all saying, well, let's go in there. There might be money. And I said, stop. It has been nailed shut from the outside. There is no money in there. You do not put money behind something that has been nailed shut. You put money behind something that has been locked and it has a guard, and not something that has been nailed shut. And so it turns out I was right, because what was behind that door?
Giant spiders.
5 giant spiders.
Yep.
So just saying, every once in a while in a party, you need someone who's just going to say, don't do that. And yes, sometimes
you're right. You were totally right.
The person of color who's like, that's not a good plan. So that's the context for that. So with that, I will say that next week we are doing Elizabeth Warren. And then the week after that is, why am I so bad with names? John Lewis. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I almost forgot his name. Long story short, I've had a day. So I'm a little right now. I apologize. So John Lewis. And then on our Twitch channel, we are going to do a live build of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So prepare for so many just impressions of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What do you mean?
I mean, Bach, I don't know.
I'm going to save it for the Twitch.
It's going to be
I'm going to save it.
It's going to be so bad. And then the week after that, it will be a live build of Putin. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting, because
he's going to find out, and it's going to be great.
Because he was in the KGB, and oh my goodness, he's. So if you don't see us after the Putin build, it has been a pleasure working with all of you, and I hope that you enjoyed this little bit. Ooh, we might need a black person on this show to tell us who to do characters on.
Like, stop doing Vladimir Putin.
Right. And I could do that because I'm black. All right. So no, I can't. I do some stupid stuff, but we all do stupid stuff. All right. So thank you again for joining us this week. So You Want to Lead a Party. And as Nate said, don't forget to like, comment, ring the bell. Also, let us know if there's a particular person that you want us to do a live build on, or just a recorded build on. We are happy to build more and more D&D characters, because you learn by doing. At least that works for me. All right, say goodnight, Nate.
Good night, Nate.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another episode of So You Want to Lead a Party. Please click the subscribe button, the like button, and don't forget to ring the bell. And if you enjoyed this week's episode, check out last week's video or the YouTube suggested videos.